Professor Bwisa. I want to take you through the second part 2, of how to construct a statement of the problem. So this is part 2. In this part, I want to carry you through the steps of constructing a problem statement. In part 1, I talked about the principles and concepts of problem statement. I now wish to carry you through the actual writing of the problem. Some caution. Do not do research simply to satisfy your degree requirements. Your research can be your springboard to your consultant's career. It all depends on the topic you select and the seriousness you put in. Abraham Maslow, the father of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, said, "That which is not worth doing is not worth doing well." Simple curiosity is not a good enough reason to do scholarly research. That is, research for the sake of research is not good for you. The fact that nothing like this has ever been done before might tell you something. Maslow developed this hierarchy of needs. The lowest physiological needs, food, water, sleep, safety, love and belonging, esteem. One need fulfilled creates a new need and therefore new research. So what we are saying here is that you can indeed develop research topics, research questions right from that hierarchy of needs. Now, according to Merriam in 1988, there are 3 basic types of research problems. The CAV or CAVE, that is conceptual, action, and value. The conceptual problem arises when 2 incongruent elements that are inconsistent exist. Like, this is the way it should be, but this is the way it is. If there are differences in there, then there's a conceptual problem. An example: more training should lead to better employee performance, but the contrary is happening. That becomes a problem, and we call that a conceptual problem. Action problem is a conflict, offers no clear alternative course of action, an undesirable outcome due to apparent lack of choices. For example, fire engine staff are required to reach the sites of disaster, but they are not always able to do so. Why? What's the problem? Is it roads? Is it anything else? That becomes a problem of research and action problem. Then value problem. A value problem arises when there is a conflict about what people consider ethical, moral, worthwhile, and even desirable. For example, employees believe their dress is a matter of freedom of choice, but companies are requiring a dress code. That becomes a value problem. Albert Einstein said, "If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, I would use the first 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask." The message is clear that research questions are important even before you start writing a statement of the problem. And here are some questions that can lead to a research problem. Like, what is missing in a society? What historical event is in need for re-examination? What program is in need of study or evaluation? What program needs to be developed? What group is being underserved? What health or social problem exists? And so on and so forth. These questions can lead to a research problem. But not every question is good for research. Let's look at the left-hand side, the bad research questions. There are some questions that cannot be empirically testable. They are non-scientific questions like, should abortion be legal? It's a question, but it's not a good research question. Is it right to have capital punishment? Question all right, but not good for research. They are general topics, not research questions. Treatment of alcohol and drug abuse, that's like a general topic. It's not a very good research question. Sexuality and aging, not it's a statement, but not really a good research question. Set of variables and not questions. Capital punishment and racial discrimination. Yeah, this is a set of variables, but not good question. Urban decay and gangs. There are others that are too vague, ambiguous, like, do police affect delinquency? What can be done to prevent child abuse? Rather vague. The others need to be still more specific. They're all right, but we can still add value, make them specific. Like, has the instance of children abuse risen? It's a good question, but not good enough. How does poverty affect children? What problem do children who grow up in poverty experience that others do not? Those are questions, but not good enough. On the right-hand side, we have better. Good research questions, like for exploratory questions. Has the instance of new forms of child abuse appeared in Wisconsin in the past 10 years? Descriptive questions. Is child abuse, violent or sexual, more common in families that have experienced a divorce than in intact, never divorced families? Good question. Are the children raised in impoverished households more likely to have medical, learning, and socio-emotional adjustment difficulties than children who are not living in poverty? Explanatory questions. Does the emotional instability created by experiencing a divorce increase the chances that divorced parents will physically abuse their children? Is a lack of sufficient funds for preventative treatment a major cause of more serious medical problems among children raised in families in poverty? These are questions that are good for research. Now, as we go further to look at the construction of our problem statement, let me give you an initial draft, a template for you to try using. There is a problem in ... Here you state the place and organization. Now, despite ... state what was put in place. ... is occurring. State what is happening and provide supporting evidence. This problem has negatively impacted ... State the victims of the problem because of ... A possible cause of this problem is ... Perhaps a study which investigates ... by ... state the paradigm, the method could remedy the situation. To guide you with that diagram, the structure of your problem statement, we are asking, what is wrong? Where is it happening? Or where did it happen? When did it happen? And to what extent? Now, how do you know that? You know that because of this structure can help you as you start initiating your statement of the problem. Let's fill it. Let's fill these dots. Give an example. There is a problem at Kenyan public universities. Despite elaborate staff motivational packages and the security of tenure, very high labor turnover, as captured by the university reports, is still occurring. This problem has negatively impacted the quality of education because the remaining staff are overloaded. A possible cause of this problem is the leadership style by public university leaders who are not necessarily administrative professionals. Perhaps a study which investigates strategies to inculcate administration principles into non-administrative personnel by the grounded theory approach could remedy the situation. In 87 words, we have filled that template. There is a problem it is occurring, the problem has negatively impacted. You can see now this structure, this template has produced this statement, which is as short as 87 words. Some students are tempted to write pages and pages of statement of the problem. They become wordy, windy, and ambiguous. Now, let's now go to the steps of writing your statement of the problem. Here are your problem statement construction guiding steps. Step 1, you describe the ideal situation. Step 2, you explain the problem. Step 3, you explain the possible costs of the problem. Step 4, you back up your assertions. Step 5, you propose a possible solution, could be hypothesis. And step 6, you explain the benefits. Yes, there are maybe more steps, but these to me are the basic steps that will build your career, that will bring success to your research process. Now let's go through one by one. Step 1, describe the ideal. By now you have selected a topic and the title. If you go to my site www.mukmik.co.ke, I have an article on how to build a topic and the title. You now have a topic by now. You want to describe how things should work. You want to explain in a few sentences how things would be if the problem didn't exist. For instance, let's say that we have noticed that employees at many organizations are not fully engaged. In this case, we might begin our problem statement by describing an ideal situation for employee engagement. Let's start it. The ideal situation where employee engagement is efficient and effective. Every organization is expected to have a workplace approach resulting in the right conditions for all members of an organization to give of their best each day, committed to the organization's goals and values, motivated to contribute to organizational success with an enhanced sense of their own well-being. This is the ideal situation. This is how it should be. Step 2, you now explain the problem. That was the ideal situation. But what's the problem? Now, it is said that a problem well stated is a problem half solved. In other ways, or put other way, identifying a problem is halfway solving it. Therefore, succinctly summarize the problem you intend to solve. Having stated an ideal, like we have done in step 1, you may explain the problem by starting it with however or unfortunately and terms like that. This will show that the identified problem is what is preventing the ideal vision from being a reality. For example, continuing with what we did in step 1, unfortunately, evidence shows that the relationship between management policy and employee engagement does not support employee engagement. This is despite the fact that some of the organizations have adopted the highly recommended performance management systems. It is not clear how the said performance management strategies affect the tendency of employees to fully engage themselves in the workplace. Note that we're saying it is not clear how. That is a problem. It's not clear. We want to do research and make it clear. In step 3, you explain the costs. Explain your problem costs, whether financial or other. Soon after you have stated your problem, you will want to explain why it's a big deal. Why should we spend resources on it? After all, no one has the time or resources to try to solve every single minor problem. So you will have to explain the costs the problem is bringing. For example, for our employee engagement example, we might proceed to explain the problem's costs like this. Lack of employee engagement represents a significant productivity burden for any organization. Poor productivity has reduced the competitiveness of some companies to the extent that some are threatened with closure, which in turn can lead to national unemployment. Yes, we have now shown the costs. The danger, if we leave the problem to continue, these are the costs that it will bring. Now, in step 4, you must back up your assertions. No matter how much burden you claim your problem is costing, if you can't back up your claims with the reasonable evidence, you may not be taken seriously. As soon as you start making specific claims about how serious your problem is, you will need to start supporting your statements with evidence. In some cases, this may be from your own research, or from data from a related study or project, or even from reputable third-party sources. Whatever the source, whatever the case, provide evidence. In step 5, you may want to propose a solution. When you have explained what the problem is and why it's so important, explain how you propose to deal with it. In our employee engagement example, our solution to the problem of poor employee engagement may be thought to be increased use of performance management strategies in the workplace. We need to use more of the performance management strategy. That might be the solution or the proposed solution. So in this case, you see that performance management is the independent variable and employee engagement will be the dependent variable. We want to increase employee engagement, but that might depend on performance management as an independent variable. And 6, lastly, now that you have told your readers what should be done about the problem, it's a very good idea to explain why this solution is a good idea. Explain the tangible or non-tangible benefits. We may write that improved employee engagement will enhance productivity improvement, and improved productivity will enhance competitiveness of the companies and, by extension, business continuity and employment creation. Then you conclude by reiterating the need for the research, the gap it will fill, and how the research will be carried out. In our example, we may write, this study will engage a quasi-experimental research design to measure the effect of performance management systems on employee engagement with the aim of recommending their wide adoption. Now, let's go back and look at the entire steps, the 6 steps, and put them now into a problem statement. The title could be the effect of employee engagement on performance management in Kenya. Here is a short statement of the problem. Organizations are expected to have a workplace approach with the right conditions for all staff to give of their best. Unfortunately, despite the fact that some Kenyan parastatals have adopted the highly recommended performance management system, evidence shows that the relationship between management policy and employee engagement at many parastatals does not support employee engagement. It is not clear how the said performance management strategies affect the tendency of employees to fully engage themselves in the workplace. Lack of employee engagement represents a significant productivity burden at a number of Kenyan parastatals, with the labor productivity being registered as low. Poor productivity has reduced the competitiveness of parastatals to the extent that some are threatened with the ultimate cost of closure, which in turn can lead to national unemployment. Increased use of performance management strategies in the workplace could be a possible remedy for low employee engagement. We hypothesize that improved employee engagement will enhance productivity. Improved productivity will enhance competitiveness of parastatals and, by extension, business continuity and employment creation. This study will engage a quasi-experimental research design to measure the effect of performance management systems on employee engagement with the aim of recommending their wide operation. In 197 words, we have done our problem statement. I want to thank you for watching and listening. In part 1 of this talk, posted elsewhere on this YouTube, I presented the principles and concepts in statement problem construction. This is the end of my part 2 talk. I want to reiterate, I'm chairman of AAIN and director of MOOCMIC. Reach me at AAIN, www.africain.org, or reach me at www.mookmic.co.ke.